It's wonderful to be here again, and especially today because we've got our amazing friend, Kim Doyle. I'm here with my colleague, Jan Koch. We are the Mavericks. Lee Jackson couldn't make it today, but he's here in spirit as ever. And Kim, it's so nice to have you again.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. Even though it's early o'clock, I'm going to do it. We're going to do it.
So
excited.
Also, so excited. So we're going to do the runs again. I should have done it at the beginning. I didn't do it. I'm going to do it now. I'll start from myself so it's quicker and I'm going to get myself out of the way. My name is Pete Chaneri. I'm a UX and design expert and I am a Cloudways Maverick. Over to you, Jan.
Hey, my name is Jan. I run Virtual Summit Mastery, diving full into virtual summits these days, and I'm also Cloudways Maverick.
And over to our guest of honor, Kim.
Now what do I call myself these days?
Yes, what do you do, Kim? Do you know?
The Content Maverick.
Yeah, there we go. So, co-founder of the Content Creators Planner, my name is Kim Doyle, formerly known as the WordPress Chick, and I actually, under kimdoyle.com, I'm kind of doubling down on email marketing and newsletters. So I've got the two brands. So kind of cover content across the board between the two.
Hashtag F the hustle.
Yes, and I'm on a mission to F the hustle. That's my newsletter and my movement.
Yeah, and what do you mean by that, actually? I think that's a really interesting one. There is a lot going on with the F the hustle thing.
Well, I think hustle culture is just... it's damaging, to be honest with you. I see a lot of people, grind and work and hustle. And I think it's kind of fading out, to be honest with you. I think it was much more predominant when, 5-10 years ago, when Gary Vee was like at the height of his excitement. And it's just this idea that we're only supposed to work 24/7. And if you cared enough, or if you wanted it bad enough, you would work hard enough. And it's BS. And so personally, I find that when I get in alignment and I trust myself and I do work that inspires me, and I'm not saying I just sit around waiting for inspiration. There's plenty of days where you have to show up, kind of the Stephen Pressfield. You show up and you do the work every day, and then you get in the mood once in a while. But I just want people to start enjoying the journey more. Tomorrow is promised to no one. So we may as well enjoy what we're doing today.
This is, I think, for me at least, it's a huge life lesson. And I mean, we could have a whole webinar talking about this. I don't want to get sidelined. But also the After Hustle thing is, besides the concept of it, it's also the newsletter that you're on a mission with newsletters as well, aren't you?
I am. I honestly think, and I think that was one of the bullet points for today, I think it's probably one of the best content types you can create today. And I think, because I've called this sort of like the second coming of newsletters, you guys have been online for a while. If you remember back, it was sort of the internet marketers, and the newsletters were enough about me. What do you think about me? And here's how great I am. And here's what my clients say. And here's how you can work with me. And by the way, here's how great I am. That was the whole newsletter. And it was just, and they also felt, it was kind of the easy style, and it felt a little corporate, for lack of a better word to me. It felt very, canned. And so they've grown in popularity the last couple of years. I had wanted to do one, and it's just, on one hand, it's just value packed, right? So the goal is to aggregate and curate content to save people time. But I think it's a unique spin because you can create a publication. It doesn't have to be the exact same name as your brand. You can publish it on Medium. There's other places to share and publish it. I think they're going to be more of a mainstay type of content like podcasts. And the beauty of it is, even though it seems hyped up right now, like look at podcasting, how many people start and quit? So people will start newsletters and quit because they won't get the results they think they're supposed to get within a year, as opposed to, like, I did it because I wanted to have fun. It truly is probably one of the most fun things I do right now. But I think there's massive value in newsletters. There's the other piece of this, side note, because now I'm getting ranty, I guess the caffeine's kicking in, is that I think it's a great opportunity because we have all these changes happening with paid traffic and data and privacy policies. And so it's a great way for people to, if you've got a newsletter, and it can be a small list, it could be 1,000 people, but if you have great open rates, you have a dedicated audience, someone can get better leverage sponsoring a newsletter than throwing spaghetti at the wall with a Facebook ad if they're not familiar with
Yeah.
what they're doing. So there's a handful of ways you can monetize newsletters, and you can track all the data. So I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity there too.
Yeah, 100%. I have started sending out daily email newsletters from Monday to Friday, probably for the past 4 months right now. I'm pretty consistent with this for the first time. And the open rates are insane. Like every month I see the open rates go up, I see the click rates go up, and I get more conversation with the audience. So this is a fantastic medium to communicate. And with the bullet points that we wanted to talk about in this webinar, the first one is creating better quality content and not more content. I am creating more content, but I feel that in the process of writing the newsletter daily, I am becoming better at creating content. I'm better at storytelling now. I'm better at phrasing things and knowing what to talk about. But how do we avoid that we don't create content just for the sake of creating content?
Yeah, but Jan, I think that because I've done daily emails and my life is just a little chaotic right now, but the difference in that is you're practicing a singular habit, and so your writing improves, and you're teaching your audience, and there's a consistency level. And I don't look at that as like when I talk about creating more content, it's like I publish a post, now I got to go. You're skipping all over the place. Now I need to go do a webinar on LinkedIn, and now I need to go start a YouTube channel. And it's people, you're giving the email and the content you're creating via email, you're giving that the chance to grow and improve and get better and measure it, right? So it's not as much about quantity as, and I should have clarified that point, is that to your point, your emails are getting better. I read your emails every day. And so it's, people see it in your inbox and you're building that relationship. So there's a difference between publishing a blog post, sharing it to social once, and then going, oh, I didn't get anything from that, and moving on and doing another one, as opposed to looking at it and saying, could I promote this again? Could I do something different? Could I pull a snippet out? Did I tweet this? Could I try a Twitter thread? Looking at the different types of promotion you can do before deciding that particular piece of content didn't work is kind of the point of that angle.
That is pure gold. That is something that I started yesterday, and I am a slow learner. I know that content repurposing is a thing, but it takes me time to implement this. And just yesterday, when I was recording a session for my summit about LinkedIn marketing, I realized that what I'm writing in my email newsletters can very easily be a LinkedIn post, can a Facebook post, can be an ad on Facebook, maybe can even serve as a podcast foundation for a podcast episode. So I think that's what you're alluding to right here, is you have one main medium that you focus on in your marketing, and then you see, how do I avoid doing the same work over and over again, reinventing the wheel, and I just redistribute what I already have across various channels.
Yeah, and the other, are you publishing your daily emails as blog posts, Jan?
Nope, no.
Do it.
Exclusive to the email.
Oh, okay, so is it, and do you position it that way, that it's only for email? Okay, well, that's totally different. But like if I do an email just a broadcast, not the F the hustle, it all gets published as a blog post. Unless it's really short for the most part, but I publish it as a blog post. And, and I think the piece of this too here, Jan, is that it depends. I'm coming from the place of, if it makes you crazy because you feel like you cannot keep up, don't try. Go all in on a couple platforms. That's the problem with that hustle and be seen everywhere and be on every platform. Like we were joking before the call. I'm like, what's LinkedIn? I'm there. I've got connections. I push content. It's the last platform I engage on. And truth, repurposing, and you have to find that sweet spot that you can stick with it. Like I joke around now. I'm like, if I could write and talk, that's all I would do. If I could just write and talk, I don't want to go repurpose. I don't want to go play in Canva. I enjoy it, but it's not what I want to spend my time doing. I would love to have someone just repurpose my content for me, but until I step into that. So the whole purpose of this is, if you don't enjoy it, if it's not sustainable, all you're doing is making yourself crazy. And so I know this is sort of the psychological human piece of it, but I'm just tired of that being left out of business. They're not mutually exclusive.
So now's the time for me to actually frame this conversation, because I should have done it at the beginning and I didn't do it because I didn't think I was introducing. It's not an excuse, it's a reason. However, so we're talking, so Kim is content queen and also social media. So she's here today within the context of our monthly topic, which at the moment is social media and how to build your business on social media. So the reason what we're talking about today is how to create a content strategy for social media. So I think this is the number one thing is, as we were saying, create better quality content, not more content. And above all, your first bit of strategy has to be which platforms do you want to be on? Like, for instance, at the moment, I have 100% fallen out of love with Facebook. It's happened before, but it feels more permanent now. I just don't want to be on it. It started when they changed the design and it hasn't got any better. Me getting used to the design has not improved my relationship with it. So I have a group and I am at the moment going live in the group. I doubt there's anyone seeing it because I haven't been in the group for maybe a couple of months now. And as we know, it's going to go. So that's why, to me, the reason why I bring this up right now is that there are two reasons for it. One is, as we were saying, pick your platforms. Even if everybody says that you should be on Facebook, if you don't want to be, don't be. Because it literally makes me break out in hives at the moment. Mostly because I used to work really hard for it and see so little. You know, you post something on Facebook in your group, you post every day and you see the insights and it's like 10 people saw this. And you're like, well, there's 1,500 in your group. Why did only 10 see it? So there's that. But, and sorry, I've gone on a rant now. But
Rant away.
the other reason why I'm bringing this up is that is social media slightly going out of fashion a little bit? Because there are other leaders that are like Lee Jackson, for instance, he's moving away from Facebook. Are we going back to the basics and going back to email? Because that's kind of what you're saying. You love newsletters. Newsletters are emails.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, social media is not going anywhere. And I think it's always going to be cyclical, probably, you know, so I mean, I've had a massive love-hate relationship, especially last year with social media. I mean, I have a group of 8,000 people and I don't promote enough, probably. I'm not in there as frequently as I should be because I just don't want to be. And I like the group, but it's like I have to make a decision. Either use it and get it moving and get traction with it, or sell it, close it, shut it down, do something. Because there's always, you know, it's like when you have those things that are hanging out there and they're just like these little niggly gnats. And so, but at the same time, I wouldn't know you guys without social, right? I wouldn't know you guys without Facebook, probably. And so I did a post on Content Creators Planner where it was like 9 ways I'm going to start enjoying social again. I just let go of the rules. I honest to God said, that's it. Who do I like chatting with on social? Where do I like to be? And how do I want to spend? I just stopped the judgment. I removed all judgment. I'm like, I don't care what people say I should or shouldn't do. And who knows? Next month, I could jump in and decide I'm going to be an Instagram. Or maybe when I go to Costa Rica, I have so many people telling me, do a YouTube channel, do a YouTube channel. I'm all, we'll see. It has to be something I can keep up, right? It's just, so I don't know. I don't think social is going anywhere. And I think there's a way to look at the platforms. So as an example, like we know that Twitter bought Review. Facebook is coming out with newsletter platform. And so can you take
they're coming out with audio too, I think. They're now working on a competitor to Clubhouse. Yeah.
Yeah. And so did Twitter. Or are you talking about Twitter or Facebook?
Facebook?
Yeah, Twitter. It's okay. Well, Twitter has Spaces. Same thing to Clubhouse, right? So I think you just decide. And I think if we reframe this and treated it as the experiment that it was when it first came out, because what may work for one person, like live streams, right? I love doing this, but I am never going to be that person that goes live every day and decides I have to talk to you from my phone 12 times a day. Like I ignore those people after a while. It just feels like, oh my gosh, just would you go to some work and stop talking to me? So you know, so go ahead, Jan. Sorry.
Sorry. Just wanted to bring up this comment from Nicole Osborne, and she says social media gets people on your email list. That's probably the one most important thing I use social media for. It's like you want to get in front of the people, and then you want to get them onto your email list so that you can build a deeper relationship with them.
Absolutely. So if you're, and that's part of the, you know, what's the goal? What's the intention? What's my business goal? Is this supporting where I'm going? And, you know, and I think I think because social's been around for so long, we forget some of the basics. Like we were talking about, I mean, email marketing's never gone anywhere. It just wasn't as sexy for other, and
Sure.
now that a lot of the email service providers are integrating things that make it better, like ConvertKit. You can do a paid newsletter through ConvertKit. You can do, so there's a handful of ways you can do it. But it's like, how often do we promote lead magnets on social, just as a social post, and make it with a call to action to remind people, sign up, sign up, sign up, right? Instead, there's so much automation involved that we forget the human piece of it. And then it's like, oh, there's no engagement. And I mean, it's kind of a double-edged sword. So I think if you treat it like, where can I have fun? And I'm going to just test this and see what happens, and then find that flow that works for you and your brand.
Yeah, I think what's also really important is that you don't forget the business aspect, that you actually have to spend time working on your business and running operations, frankly. So what I found works best for me is I set aside dedicated time where I spend time on browsing through Facebook, browsing through LinkedIn, creating content there and consuming content. And once that time slot is over, I get back to work because it's so easy to get dragged into this stuff.
And you know what's funny is I have found I'm having more fun on social, like as a person. Like my mom passed away a year and a half ago. I'm staying in touch with some of her friends. And it's like, oh, that's really sweet, right? So the purpose of social for what it was to stay involved in people's lives as well. So it's like, if I treat it that way, I'm like, oh, I mean, you guys, my feed is marketing, friends, and animals. That's it, because I've hidden or shut everything else down, but I agree with you. If you look at it and say, because you guys ever do this, you see people that have groups and I'm like, how are you working? It seems like you're in your group and on Facebook all day long. I'm like, no wonder you're tired because you're not working. I don't know.
Reminds me of Sean Fosler, the copywriter. He does these live stream AMAs while he's working. I don't know how he's doing that. I mean, he has a live stream on his face while he's working and he's chatting with people. How does he get any work done?
I don't know. But you've seen like Sean's got his adult ADHD book on his desk all the time now. I think there are people and, and this is something that's interesting too, Jan, and I've kind of gone on a rant. And so bear with me, guys, but it's this, I've been looking at sort of these multi-passionate entrepreneurs. As online entrepreneurs and content creators, we're told to focus and be singular and do this. And then I highly recommend people subscribe to Contrarian Thinking. It's a newsletter on Substack by Cody Sanchez. She's very fascinating. She was on with Nathan Barry too, where she talks about in the creator economy. And this is so like, even with agencies, if you think about this, if you're an agency and your only stream of income is clients, you can be screwed. So if you look at yourselves as creators also, and she calls it diversification, having multiple businesses or multiple products and revenue, it's the new diversification in the creator economy. And so obviously you have to be able to manage it, publish it, ship it, get those things out the door, because some people stay in creation and thought and idea mode forever and don't ever push anything. But I think if you look at what you create and sell and publish, whether it's under one brand or four, as long as you get it done, you're diversifying and you're actually securing your future in a better way if you can get it done. It's a fascinating model, I think. That was a little bit of a side tangent, but I think too often we're told, focus, focus, focus. I get bored after like a year or two. I'm all, okay, I'm tired of talking about this. Right?
Kim, by the way, talking about socials and groups, shall I share this live to your group?
Please do. Please do. I was clicking over and I couldn't multitask.
Done it.
My extent of multitasking is taking a water bottle in the shower to get my day going.
Done. I've done it.
Yeah. So.
Love it.
Yeah. Sorry, that was a little bit of a rant.
No,
worries.
that's
It was a good
no,
rant,
not at
though.
all. Not at all. Absolutely.
So how do we make sure that we stay on track with all that we do? Like you mentioned, we need to be sure that we can keep up with every goal that we set for ourselves and every venture that we take on. And I find that for me, at least, it is about leveraging what I already have and repurposing that. So I'm working on the Virtual Summit Mastery podcast right now, which is based on interviews and webinars like this one that I'm doing. And I'm repurposing snippets from those into a podcast, elaborating that. How can we, as an agency, leverage what we already create?
Well, I think agencies, to me, the primary type of content that I would be doing is the documentation piece, as well as I have also gotten a little bit ranty with I want to share. Okay, so I'm like backing up. I have this thing called my core content values. And no matter what I do, no matter what I create, I want people to feel better for having engaged with my content. They're either going to learn how to do something, they're going to be entertained, or I'm going to speak to their soul, right? So I have that's my foundation. If I'm creating something, I want to connect with my audience. And so I don't believe, go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt, but I just want to maybe return to that, because I love that you have actually a few starting points that you bear in mind. Please carry on.
Well, no, it's a framework. And I think if everybody says to themselves, what is the purpose of our content? In terms of your audience, like, of course, we all want search. We want to come up in Google. We want to be found for keywords. I get that. But the problem is, if you're not innately good at that to begin with, people just won't create. And to me, if you look at, I want to connect with people. And so that's how I was horrible when I started, you guys. And I mean, I could write in college and do a paper fine, but it was like my posts sounded like robots wrote them. I had people telling me I made them dizzy with Camtasia videos. And I was like, I'm just sharing what I'm learning, but it's like, I didn't care. Ignorance was bliss. But so I think if you come from that place as what of the purpose of my content? So as an agency, you want to attract people that want to hire you, right? Share the projects. They overthink it. I honestly think if you do it like a build in public. So as an example, I've never done anything like that. I'm doing a new newsletter actually with my daughter. It's called emailinsiders.me, all on email marketing and newsletters. It's a standalone brand, obviously, but I'm like, I'm going to publicly build this and share the journey and how the first initiation of sharing it with my lists. And then, okay, how are we framing it? And what are the open rates? And just do that publicly. That's a ton of content. And I will probably do that on Kim Doyle. So it kind of they support each other, but I just think people overthink it. Share what you're working on. And then the other piece of this is not all of your content needs to be this intense how-to tutorial, epic post. Have some fun. Do a behind the scenes of an office party or something, or tell the story of how, these stories. It's amazing. I've told this so many times. I'll try to make it quick, but it was like when I shared, it was the anniversary of my husband's passing at 14 years. I woke up on a Sunday. It was a couple hours later, and I realized it wasn't the first thing on my mind. And I was grateful to be on the other side of that. So I thought, I'm going to share this in an email. And it was in loving memory and a personal message of hope to tell people your dreams are worth pursuing. I got like 30 responses to that email on a Sunday. And then I thought, I'm going to just do this as a blog post. You guys, that has been in my bio since I started. Do you know how that is still to this day my highest traffic post, the most commented, and the most shared? People want to connect with people. So we overthink that everything has to come from this, how to do this and epic content and SEO and keywords. And I'm like, it doesn't. You have to promote it, but you need to connect with people. You need to speak to their soul as well. I am ranty. The caffeine has totally kicked in.
I love it, because we always have you on at what is a really early hour from you. So you always overdo it in terms of getting yourself awake. So you're actually even more awake than you would be if we got you at a more normal hour.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great result. So, right. I mean, there is so much for me here, because I feel, for me, the issue with creating content has always been consistency, because I really love it, but I am now actually, I don't want to say I haven't, I'm going to use a positive here. And I'm going to say that after many years, I am now, I think, at a stage where I will get into the stride of being consistent. I know I'm nearly there. And actually, I'm going to come out with a podcast. You're going to be happy about that, Kim.
I think that was, I don't know what happened, Jan, but that was one of the things we talked about. I think that was one of our first calls.
Yes,
years and years ago.
I know it was. I remember that call so well. I was in London. I was actually, I think, getting ready to move to Spain. So it was about 6 years ago, and you were telling me 6 years ago do a podcast, and now 6 years later, I'm almost ready for it. So
sorry about the lighting, guys. Remember, I'm in a corner in a bedroom at my dad's house for a very short window.
Yeah,
no worries at all. I just accidentally left the room, so it cannot get any worse than that.
Well, you know what, guys, and can I speak to something too? Because Jan, you were asking about agencies and consistency and whatnot. And so to that point, you guys, so technically, I mean, my podcast, I've had times where I've dipped off for a couple months because life was personally hard. And it was like, I knew I couldn't show up. At the same time, I had built an audience, and I just think life is going to happen. And so you get back up and you keep moving. And so if you can pick one or two things that you know you can stick with, F the Hustle gets done every week. Our creativity published through the Content Creators Planner gets done every week. And we publish a blog post on that site every week. And so I'm not trying to say like, don't put expectations on yourself, but putting pressure on yourself to do more and, oh my God, I have to do it. Baby step into it. Start with one thing that you can be consistent with, and you'll find a rhythm and stuff. And so, and I mean, and to Jan's point earlier, it's like, you've got work to do also to make money. If I could just create and get paid and never have, that would be fantastic, right? But there's other work involved. And so I don't know. I think having one or two things, because the truth is, have you guys heard that quote? You may have heard the speech, but Wayne Dyer, I don't think he's the original person who said it, but at 20, you're worried about what everybody thinks. At 40, you don't care what anyone thinks. And at 60, you realize nobody was thinking about you to begin with. And so, if you can just do the best you can, I'm just over this, like, it's not the end of the world if you miss a week. I mean, absolutely, consistency matters and is important, but just get back in and don't do the whole, I'm so sorry you haven't heard from me. Just get back in.
Exactly. So that's where I am right now, actually, because I haven't written to my list for ages, and I'm thinking I had loads to talk about. Sorry. Can someone say something?
I can sing a song.
we could talk about content promotion
Yes.
and shift gears a little bit right here, because one thing that I had to learn the hard way is, Peacha's really struggling, is that content promotion, when you are doing it, it feels like you are overly repeating yourself. But on the other hand, like Peacha shared earlier with the engagement in her group, 10% out of the group members saw the post. So every 10th post you are creating is actually seen by somebody. So that is something that I had to learn, is that content promotion, even you feel like you're repeating yourself, your audience doesn't see it that way.
Exactly. And you think about the platforms, I mean, and there have been so many trainings on different platforms that say, don't share to every platform at the same time. And it's like, why not? Like, do you honestly? So you're not going to see me on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn at the same time. So with promotion, I have co-schedule and I have missing letter. I'll go in and I'll queue campaigns. And it's the step after that I want to be doing. So using newsletters as an example, Jan, like, I think there's two really unique ways, and I've only done it once with F the Hustle, but doing like an Instagram carousel. So my newsletter has segments. So it's like I can create an image for the carousel image of each of the segments, put the issue out, and then a call to action to subscribe to F the Hustle. Same thing. I think a Twitter thread would be really unique to do snippets of the segments. So I think we get bored is part of it. I mean, I do. And so it's like, what are some fun and unique ways you can try to just, and in the post, I did this on Content Creators. I'm like, if you just did 2 a month, you're going to get data. And if it was worth 2 new subscribers a month. I mean, I'm not saying that that's great growth, but to see those results by trying something new, all of a sudden it's like, I think I can do this a little bit more. I can do this a little bit more, So the content promotion piece, and it's like, how do you stand out when everyone's doing this? And it's the engagement piece. You guys, I have almost 20,000 followers, I think, on Twitter, and I just pushed content for years. I'm like, girl, get back into this. And it was Bridget Willard who like made me start thinking again about Twitter and the fact that, tweets are indexed. And so I look at where I want to promote stuff is where am I going to get love? Like, that's the only reason I'm like, okay, maybe I should do a YouTube channel. I mean, I have a channel, but most of it was WordPress, how to do this and how to do that. So I have to kind of rebrand it, but there's value in YouTube. It's searched, it's Google, and so it's the same thing. And so you have to decide. I've paid people to go all in on Pinterest, got very minimal results. And I'm like, all right, I'm not even gonna bother, so I don't know where I was going with that, but welcome back. I hope you're feeling better.
That was intense. Sorry. And right as I was speaking, I don't know what that was about.
No worries.
Yeah, so
That's okay. Well,
Yeah.
it's kind of like we were talking about, Jan. It's like if you picked one thing, or even, like headliner. Why don't I do that with my podcast every week? I don't know, because it's like writing, recording, editing. I'm hiring an editor again, but it's just to go out and do that. Or, what I was a big fan of, and I have not opened Anchor on my phone in years, but Anchor would let you do up to 2 minutes. You could record it and it would transcribe it, and you get to share it as a video.
Yeah, 100%.
I think it's just a matter of testing.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you. And it is, again, coming back to what comes natural to you and what type of process you are efficient with, I would say. So it doesn't really matter if somebody says you need to start a podcast because they've seen good results with the podcast. If you're not comfortable speaking and recording yourself, and that will translate to your listeners, and your listeners will feel that you are not doing it because you want it, but you are doing it because somebody told you to. And I really love your approach, Kim, on that you're not being too hard on yourself, you're not putting too much pressure on yourself, and you just give yourself the freedom to experiment. And that is something I've seen in my own business as well. When I start experimenting and when I give myself like a month or two to try something, I don't quit immediately, even though it doesn't work in the beginning. I try to push through this initial resistance until you build up some momentum. And then at one point, either it becomes second nature or it doesn't. And if it doesn't, you just move on to the next one.
That's right. This is another Kim saying, do you like that I quote myself now? And that is that you're not going to get better at something by not doing it. You're just not, And when I used to, years ago as a WordPress chick, I would send an email once a month, and it was kind of newslettery looking, but it was content and I didn't want to sell. And when it was 2016, I'm like, I'm going to test this daily. I'd been watching Ben Settle for a year. I'd subscribed to him. I was paying attention. I was looking at his emails, and it's just that singular story style email with one call to action. And I thought, I'm just going to do this. This is for me. It was totally that compound effect. I think that's Darren Hardy wrote that book, of the small, consistent action. It starts compounding, right? And you just stick with it. And I fell in love with it. And it was through podcasting that I fell in love with writing. Because of the way I talk, I get all over the place. I have to write my show notes out first when I have a solo show. And so I just started writing in my own voice, and I found a rhythm, and I started enjoying the process. And it's, with online marketing, because everything moves so fast, and we forget to enjoy the time that we're doing it. I love getting lost in writing, recording, and doing a podcast for 4 or 5 hours, or a post. It's like, that's my happy place. And sometimes I have to make myself get into it, but that translates into so many better results than if you go hit every platform instantly because you feel like you have to. And I know that's kind of esoteric, but it's just fact.
I'm going to try and speak again.
Okay.
I'm going to try and
Be
speak
careful.
again. I can't guarantee any results. I'm not sure what's going on.
I rendered you speechless. I'm just kidding.
Yes, you have that effect, Kim. Anyway, let's hope, so far so good. Right. Obviously, I had a question earlier and I've forgotten. But
I do that mid-sentence.
What's that about the types of content that you can create, and what's the best type of content that we should focus on these days, maybe?
Newsletters. I still believe it 100%. I think it's newsletters. And, newsletters have that balance of original content, of curated content, however you want to do it. But I think the other piece that is in there as well.
I'm not
moved me to
crying. It was
tears
the
now.
People are going to think that no, it wasn't. Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
No, but it's kind of like a podcast where you're basically saying, let me use my platform to share your message when you interview somebody. It's a total value add, right? It's a give. And so you can do the same thing. So as an example, there's a different podcast and stuff I read on Medium. And are you guys familiar with Ryan Daniel Moran of capitalism.com?
Yeah.
Okay. So I like Ryan a lot. I listen to his stuff, and every single time I've mentioned his podcast or a piece of content, he comments on my blog. That's a relationship builder. He's going to remember me, and I'm not doing it, But so I responded to him. I'm like, this is a class act. This guy's got, 8-figure businesses and whatnot. Or there's a writer I love on Medium, Felicia Sullivan. Every time I've mentioned her, she comments on the blog. And so I think that we're missing that connection piece. And I think the beauty of a newsletter, and what happens, I think, from a social perspective with our businesses is it almost gets incestuous, where we hang out with friends and we talk to friends and we're in each other's groups and whatnot. And what I've been having so much fun with newsletters is discovering new people. That was what I loved about social, and maybe find, and I'm not saying anything's wrong with the relationships and friendships. That's why we're here, right? But it's been really fun because it's almost motivating me to go, oh my God, there are so many people on the planet to do business with and to serve and to engage with. And when we live in these bubbles, you feel like everyone's done this or somebody's already done that and I can't do that. And it's just not the case. And so I've been having a lot of fun sharing other people's content, sharing podcasts or articles, and then you tag those authors and creators. And there is an appreciation, there is a reciprocity that happens sort of universally, but also they're going to remember you. Like, I have every intention of interviewing Ryan at some point, or Cody Sanchez. She just is fascinating to me. And so these people that are, and she's in finance as well as a creator economy. So it just opens my eyes to possibilities. And I think we all need that after last year, a little bit of hope and enthusiasm too. But long story short, again, I think newsletters, everybody can benefit from a newsletter when you do it from a place of, I want to provide value, obviously. At the same time, I want to save people time. Time is all of our most precious commodity. And if you can save people time and send them something, and like you guys see my newsletter, I always put in a stupid meme or a tweet or something. And it's just me. Like, I could probably never sell F the Hustle because it's Kim, 100%. Email Insiders, we could grow that as a publication and sell it. There's no reason we couldn't. I'm not going to attach, it'll be by me, but it's not going to be so personality driven as my personal brand is. Same thing with Creativity Published. There's no reason we couldn't sell that if we wanted to. I just think they're gold, to be honest with you.
Yeah, 100%.
So,
especially, sorry, go ahead, Peter.
No, carry on.
I was just going to say, especially when you're a service provider and you're building websites or you're handling social media campaigns for clients, even after the project ends, you want to send them emails consistently to stay on top of their mind and just provide value on upcoming changes with regulations around data privacy or hacks that have been going on, and how their website is protected, stuff like that, so that you continue to deliver the value. And then at some point, they will come back to you. If you are consistent with that and you are helping them consistently, even after the project ended, what other chance do they have than getting back to you?
Well, and here's really quick, and I know you have a question, Peter, so I'm in this little group. I created sort of this mini mastermind on newsletters just to help each other be accountable. And so one of my friends in there, it's Liz Nelson Weaver. She's Paprika Creative in Colorado. And so she created a newsletter called Think, right? And the K, I love her logo, but it's only going to clients. It's like 50 people, right? She is getting phenomenal feedback because she shares a recent project. Her segments, because again, there are no rules to how you do this with a newsletter. You get to decide what segments you want to include. And so she is getting such great feedback. And as an agency, her own creative agency, she's having fun too, because it's very easy to get caught up in the work and the client work. And all of a sudden she's enjoying doing this. And so she does like a mini case study, sharing something about a project, and it reminds people. And she does print. And I'd said to her, I'm like, you should send a physical print newsletter once a year or quarterly or something to your list. And I think you'll find a really, a dip, and so many people may forget that you even do print work. So I think as a small agency, small list, and she's getting great results from
it. There's a comment that's come through, which is that came through it's kind of very much related to my question, because my question, Kim, was, it's a bit of a catch-22 situation, isn't it? Because I was thinking, I'm betting that people will have this question. Well, if a newsletter is delivered by email, yes, you can repurpose it as a blog post, but fundamentally it's delivered by email. So what happens if you don't have an email list yet? How do you build a list with a newsletter? Because the Erica on Facebook asks, how are you getting people to sign up from your email list from social, or vice versa, getting them to follow you on social from email lists? The second one is easier because I often, I'll write to my list and say, hey, are you already in my Facebook group? So because you've got them. But how do you actually build an audience with a newsletter if you don't have already an audience? Or how do you build your audience if you already have one, but you want to grow it with a newsletter?
So it's interesting because one of the gals in our group doesn't have an audience yet. And she's in a very interesting market. It's genealogy and documenting, family history and all that kind of stuff. And so like we assign each other homework and accountability. So her goal is to go find companies that she can relate to, where she can share their stories. And some of it
I want to be in your group.
Okay.
I
some
want
of
to
it
be
is
in your group.
Good old fashioned guerrilla marketing. You go knock on the door and you say, hey, is this something of value, right? And again, I get it that I started with an audience through Kim Doyle, and then I've shared F the Hustle. Now, all of that aside, so let's say you have no money, you don't want to do paid traffic. This is exactly what I'll do. And I'm going to do this as we build email insiders. Okay. So, and again, I may have to do a tag or something in ConvertKit, so I know that they've come from the audiences I already have. But I would start with, there's a great group on Facebook by Josh Spector called Newsletter Creators. And once a week, you can share your newsletter. And you guys, I shared F the Hustle. And do you know how many people were like, oh my God, I love the name. I'd have to sign up. I don't even know what it is. But, and it's funny because I will tell you, I had people tell me they didn't like the name. They didn't like the intimation of using the F word. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry. And they were both very nice and respectful, but it doesn't resonate with everybody, and that's okay. But so I would find any groups. Now, if you start getting into newsletters, I've been kind of working on an epic post. I have a spreadsheet of newsletter directories you can submit it to. And some of these directories are great, and they will tweet out that you are now on their directory as well. So do all of the boring, like manual labory type of stuff. I think what I'm going to do for email insiders is kick it off with a contest. I'm going to do a Viper contest, a giveaway. And again, you want to make sure that the giveaway is solely relative to the content. So you're not getting, somebody in a country that's like, I just want an Amazon Echo. I don't care about your email book or what, so you want to make sure that the giveaway is, but so I would test a viral giveaway with Viper, UpViral or something like that. And here's the beauty of newsletters, again, because they're new, what's happening in the newsletter creator group. But a great example, Kyle Van Dusen, good friend. He started doing the Chaser Fridays. I love his Chaser. He shared F the Hustle. I think I got 25 subscribers from Kyle one day. And so you start looking at that. And to the point even where I think it's going to be my primary opt-in on my site. I have this email marketing sessions. It's audio and emails. I think I'm going to give that to people who sign up for F the Hustle. But F the Hustle is that is my primary opt-in on my site. So you want to look at that. The other piece of this is, I've thought about doing this in content creators. I'd be curious what you guys think about this. But you remember years ago, everything was JV, like joint venture relationships. And people did a lot of that. They'd email the list. They'd kind of like what Kyle did for me. And so I think if you look at who's got an audience that this would provide value for, that I can share and mention. And then it doesn't have to be an automatic swap. Maybe you have someone on a podcast, but they share your newsletter, or vice versa. I think it's kind of guerrilla marketing tactics. Now, I haven't tested ads. I would like to test ads for F the Hustle and see how that goes. It depends though. I will tell you this, if you were to test Facebook or Instagram ads, I would drive them to a landing page. We did the in-feed ads, lead gen on Facebook for Content Creators Planner, and the quality of the leads is not the same as somebody who's willing to click through to a landing page versus just put their name and email in on Facebook. So I would make a list, the promotion techniques, and then you queue it and you schedule it through every platform that you are making sure that you're sharing the opt-in 3-4 times a week. That's where I would start. Hopefully that was enough.
Definitely. And you mentioned, I think that Kyle Van Dusen is one of those people that I think, how does he sleep? When does he live? It's extraordinary how much. So his group is an example of, complete success. Because I remember when he set it up, and him and Matt, his partner, found a formula that really works, and their group is super engaged. It's like a place where people, and they called it the admin bar, and it is a place where people go to hang out. And he really leveraged the content in a brilliant way. He just took to it like a duck to water, and he went from 0 to hero so quickly. And the newsletter is fantastic, so well written and so engaging. Whether you've been in the group or not, it's interesting. So, and in fact, you can,
sorry, I was going to say, when I had started Content Creators, I was doing the Creators Pulse once a week, like a newsletter, and I would pull stuff from the group, but it was too much. It took me so long to do that, as opposed to finding something interesting and sharing it, and finding something interesting, that kind of thing, where I went nuts. I mean, because I also think with newsletters, when I get, like, I love Ann Handley, I read her newsletter, but sometimes there's so many links in it, I get overwhelmed. I'm like, I don't have 4 hours to read this. So I'm like, oh, I'll come back to it. And then I forget to go back to it. So you have to find that sweet spot. But Kyle has done a phenomenal job of aggregating content that happens in the group and putting it into the newsletter. It's fantastic.
Yeah, 100%. Agreed. And I just wanted to share something for all the agencies and freelancers watching this. If you want to have more time to do this stuff, consider joining the agency partnership program that we have with Cloudways. You can join the waitlist right now. They are putting together a program that helps you get more peace of mind when you're working on your clients' websites and hosting them on Cloudways. They give you tools to boost your business. They let you build relationships. They give you a shout out on their blog with, I don't know how many hundred thousands of visitors every month. Check out the link. That is cloudways.com/agency. I think you have to put the / at the end. Otherwise, the redirect isn't working, I think. So, check it out. And I want to see you in there, because it's really a great program that they're working on.
Not only that, but next month, from the 17th to the 20th of May, is the Design for Conversions conference, where you will get the opportunity to find out even more about the program, because the program is a fantastic project from the UX point of view. I led the UX project for Cloudways, and I'm using it as a case study for this conference. That's the title of which, by the way, is due to Kim's genius. You call it design. Absolute perfection. And if you remember, we were doing this session with Kim, and you came up with Design for Conversions, and my immediate reaction was like, salesy. And then and you were like, are you sure? And after a minute, I was like, oh my God, this is fantastic. And actually, I realized that my other venture is Design for Geeks. So now I've got the Design for thing. Anyway, digression and rant, but the agency partnership program is a wonderful example of a project that is entirely centered on helping the customer. So that's why it's at the center of the Design for Conversions conference, because Design for Conversions is all about converting more, making more money through good design that's people-centered, that's centered on helping your customer. So come, designforconversions.com. Go sign up. It's free to attend, so there's zero barrier. Please sign up.
Yeah, and that's the full circle about what we are talking here, because everything you do in content marketing has to be related to people. We, as you said, Kim, in the very beginning, we lose this touch of building relationships because we are so me-focused in everything that we promote. So that is those are two examples of people and businesses not focusing on themselves, but focusing on their audience and delivering value, leading with value, before they even ask for a sale or ask for money. And that's something that I think we all should incorporate more in our content.
Well, and I know you got a question, PJ, but I really do think that the piece of this that happens in there is there. I don't know about you guys. There's just pressure. You're never going to be done in this space. There's always more content. There's always more marketing. There's always new things there's new people. It never ends. So if you don't find that sweet spot of enjoying it and having fun with it, and it just, you're going to burn out. You're going to burn out.
Right. So my question now is related to a problem that I have and that I've always had. I'm not a planner by nature. I've always lived my life by the seat of my pants. I'm very impulsive. I like, sort of making last minute decisions and so on. Whereas, in business and when you're creating content, you need to plan, you need to prepare. So we've talked about strategy, but now in practical terms, that's something else that you've helped me with, Kim, hugely because of the content planner. I have to say, I bought the Trello version because it suits me better in terms of digital content. But that's something that really I would like you to tell us more about, because it's a life-changing product, I think. It just is fantastic. The Trello version is like, oh my God, it completely opened my eyes, and that's the next thing that I'm going to do, actually. So can you please tell everybody more about your content planner?
Yeah, so it's called Content Creators Planner. That's the URL also. Yeah. And I came up with this idea because I found myself, whenever I would go to map out a funnel, or so, I was drawing, and and I will say, side note, Picha, the planning piece of it, I think depends on how you're bent, right? Like, you're an artist, you're a creative. And so for me, I just started playing with pens and stuff, and I would be drawing stuff. Anyways, long story short, I had this idea, and the purpose of the Content Creators Planner is to give people, start with your business goals. What's the content you can create to support those? What is the call to action to get someone on your email list? End goal, what are you selling? And then there's a strategy that supports mapping out that campaign strategy. And it's interesting because the planner is 2 years old now, and we're looking at doing a version 2, and it may just be digital for version 2. And it's been so fun to have a physical product, to be honest with you. At the same time, I don't know that it needs to be, now that we've got enough data, and we're going to incorporate a little bit of this create better but less, add in email marketing. So it's going to shift a little bit based on the feedback we've gotten. And the truth is, because it could be overwhelming if you look at the planner, like, I'm supposed to create this much content. It's like, no, it doesn't have, the book doesn't have to be filled in. The point is to get you thinking about it, and to have you start looking at your strategy for what you're creating, and does it support where you want to go? And on a side note, I will say, there's plenty of times I just feel like writing something, or I feel like talking about something, and it has nothing to do with anything, but sometimes that stuff works too. But so many people don't know where to start. They literally do not know where to start with content. And when you're in a space, you forget that people don't know what you know. Like, you've been in it for so long, and it's like, oh yeah, like, we really thought we were going to end up with an audience of digital marketers, people who already know what they're doing. And we have people that are like, what's an opt-in? And you're just like, oh yeah, I forgot. There's a lot of people that are new to taking their business online every single day. And so the Content Creators Planner, the Trello version, came for a lot of people who are like, I don't want paper, I don't want pen, I use this already. And we've had other requests for Asana and Notion and whatnot. It's to do that, you can't import Trello boards, but even to look at that, doing that, it's what's the return? And the Trello version has done fantastic. It's been another product, so to speak, in the suite. So, it's really, the intention was to get people thinking about a strategy as opposed to, where do I start? What do I do? And so it may end up being just a signature course where people get the planner for free. We haven't totally decided. There's some pivoting happening this summer with the brand, but yeah, it's people overthink it.
I would love that, because I tell you what, I think as a user of your products and as a client of yours as well, you've helped me out and so on. Something like that, a course that is, you had it, didn't you? You had the workshop at some point. So the workshop where I've
done an everything is content workshop. I've done that course, and then we have the master class. Mm-hmm.
Because what benefits me hugely is to actually have, be held accountable and say, right, okay, so this January we sit down together, or maybe at the beginning of every quarter, we sit down together and you're going to plan your content. And this is how you do it. I think that for a lot of people that are not used to being consistent with it, because I think that a secret to consistency is also knowing beforehand what you're going to talk about. So if you've planned it and if you have a strategy already set up, and you know what you're going to talk about, it's going to be so much easier to get on, your platform, whatever platform that is, and actually do it. Because it's even, if you've planned the day ahead, it's much quicker. If you're an entrepreneur and you work by yourself, you sit down and you know what you're going to do that day, your work is going to be much more productive. And it's the same with the content creation. And I think that's hugely useful.
Well, and thank you. I think that the other piece with content creation and courses, and as we're talking about this, even with agencies. So as an agency, if you're looking at what's your strategy or can you engage, there's this whole shift towards cohort-based training, right? And I think we're seeing education obviously is coming online at the speed of light now. And so as an example, we're doing a content promotion. It's called the Content Promotion Code. It's a workshop we're doing. It's a one-off. And originally we were going to do a course. And I said, I want to do this as a 90-minute workshop. I want to hear what people struggle with. I want to hear the language they use, because then I can use the language they're using in copy and email. So I'm talking to their pain points. But I want that engagement and feedback for people to tell me, oh, I hate doing this, so you know what I'm saying? And so then we go, okay, before we take this workshop and turn it into a 6-module course, it's going to take a lot of time to develop and whatnot. People have already told us what they want more of. And so I think we're shifting to this engagement piece. I mean, I'm going to do that with a newsletter course. I want to do a live 6 weeks course. It's a lot of work. Trust me, I'd love to do autopilot so I can sit on the beach every day in Costa Rica, but I'm not going to get the feedback and the challenge and find out the struggles. And you build that relationship. Wouldn't you rather have a course of 10 people who show up every week and are doing the work than 30 people who don't give you results or testimonials and have nothing to show for it? So I think there's so many opportunities to take content. And even that, like, let's say you do a workshop as an agency and you do a workshop, why you need to maintain your WordPress website, just randomly, right? But if you did it as a live workshop, half those people are going to pay you because they just don't care. And they're going to look at it and go, that's over my head. And the other half are just going to think you're, the bee's knees because you have shown them how to do it themselves. So, there's all these little opportunities. And each time you do that stuff, that's content. And you do a case study on how this went and what I did and how I shared it. So I kind of went sideways there. But yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity for it all to intermingle. You don't need to reinvent the wheel with content.
I think that's a fantastic way to wrap up this session, because we have covered a ton of ground in this conversation. It's like an hour already. So let me try and wrap up and summarize what we've talked about, because there was a lot. Essentially, know who you're talking to, or select the 1 or 2 channels that you are the most comfortable with, and you know that you can stick to them. Select a schedule in creating your content that you can stick to for at least 3 to 6 months, I would say, in order to evaluate the results and get enough data. Do not let other people force you onto platforms that you are not comfortable with just because they're hype. Deliver value, build relationships, lead with the interest in getting to know each other and helping each other, frankly, before starting to promote anything that you have to offer. First, build a genuine relationship with the people you're talking to. Do not get caught up in vanity metrics, rather focus on 10 people who respond than 100 people who don't care about what you have to say. Leverage what you already created, repurpose what you have, promote the heck out of what you have, because the organic reach is so low these days, and plan and structure your content.
Absolutely. And have fun, you guys. I live by the motto. If it is not fun, I am not doing it. I am moving to Costa Rica to work less and make more. That's my motto.
Absolutely.
That is
and
so
we'll
brilliant.
See you there.
Yes, you will.
Yes.
Fantastic. So, Kim, where do people get in touch with you?
KimDoyle.com or ContentCreatorsPlanner.com. And all my social is Kim Doyle. I don't know how I had the foresight to do that, not the WordPress chick years ago, but knock on wood, I did. So I'm pretty easy to find. Or Content Creators Group on Facebook.
That's a fantastic group. Highly recommend that. Picha.
Yes, so am I. Extremely easy to find. Remember how to spell my name, Piccia, and you'll find me everywhere. But these days, LinkedIn, Peachaneri, then Twitter, Peacha. I don't really tweet. I'm more of a lurker, but I am there. And my conference, designforconversions.com. Sign up, register. It's free. That's it. What about you, Jan?
Yeah, for me, it's the WP Mastery Facebook group. It's Twitter at I am Jan Koch. And let's not forget our fellow Maverick Lee Jackson, who you can find at the Agency Trailblazer group. And also give a listen to his podcast, because he has probably the best voice of doing podcasts that I've ever heard.
Yeah, he's fabulous.
Love it. Thank you
Up there
so
with
much for
Nathan.
watching, everybody. Yeah, Nathan is right up there
Nathan
as well.
Agreed. but Lee's just amazing. And the content, the advice that he has on podcasts is brilliant as well, if anyone wants to start a podcast.
Yeah, 100%. So thank you, everybody, for watching. We had a blast. I hope you had a blast too. If you have any questions that we didn't cover, just shoot them in the comments. We'll make sure that we'll bug Kim until we get a response from her. Until next time, see you, everybody.